Jorma asks, what's the difference between bump and normal mapping? I tested in 2 renders, Unity on Autodesk, and they seem to do the same thing. Man, I believe that they do largely the same thing, right? They create the illusion of physical texture bumpiness where there actually is none in the mesh. I think that they are the same thing. I think bump is just the older term for it, and normal is the newer one. Oh, okay, there we go. As Blaine says, normal maps are basically an updated bump map. They achieve the same goal but can hold less data because they're only grayscale. Hydrasin asks, haven't seen anything on exception handling. Is there anything in the archives or anywhere # on that? Is it a crucial thing to be aware of? First of all, I would say that is the kind of stuff that I think you could learn from a generic C# or generic programming reference, because it's not really Unity specific. In terms of like specific approaches to exception handling in Unity, I sort of don't know, but I've long wanted to do a kind of like a debugging tools training, but I haven't done it. But if there's demand for it, let me know and I will consider it. SQ says, can you enable or disable parts of the level? Yeah, definitely. That activate game object action could disable or enable anything you want. Hydrasin asks, does Unity have built-in support for Gamepad vibration, or is anything in the works? Last time I checked, I had to include X input. Yep, you still have to do that. That being said, there is a new one that's actively being worked on by some of our smartest people, and it looks really, really cool, the little glimpses of it that I've seen, and I'm pretty sure you can grab betas and stuff. Ooh, Dilka, I would recommend a video called Prototype to Polish, Developing and Juicing with PlayMaker on the Unity YouTube channel. Man, you know me. I love me some juice. I have been wanting to do kind of some juice, like a 2D juice session and a 3D juice session. Juice, for those who don't know, being kind of extra feedback like screen shake, particles, sounds, things that make your game feel juicy, right? It gives you a lot of output for a little bit of input. I would love to do those sessions. I probably would do them in C# as opposed to PlayMaker, just so they could reach the broadest possible audience, but it is a good idea. Solar Falcon says, I'm using 5.6 and Amplify Shader Editor isn't working. Anybody else having this problem? I'm on 5.5 still. 5.6 just came out, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of the asset providers haven't gotten all their assets up to speed on it yet. So I would just say give it a little time, and I'm sure they'll catch up. But yeah, I purposefully did. I knew 5.6 was coming out, but I used 5.5 for these trainings just because I wasn't sure if all the asset folks would, update right at the release. So I would just say, for now, I would just use 5.5 if you need to use third-party stuff. Kaiser 39 says, building for mainly VR, but I cannot get the cameras to render stereoscopic for Oculus viewed. Millions of YouTube videos need help from anyone. That's going to very likely be a problem with the way you have the Rift configured. If you turn on virtual reality supported in Unity, it should start rendering natively in stereo, so it sounds like it's a problem with the hardware. Mihator says, can I say I have to recommend version 5.6 beta 9 as the most stable version ever. I will never upgrade again. Is it unusual to feel this way? No, it's totally not unusual. We've been doing a lot of work on stability and getting our bug count down, and I think it has majorly improved over the last year or two. But it's a software product, right? And there's always going to be bugs. And if you have a version, I feel like a lot of people have different ideas about what their favorite version is, and it usually comes back to what features are you using all the time for your game, and are they stable in that version, right? Like if you're always using lots and lots of nav mesh, then you almost definitely want to be on 5.6, right? Because it's a major, upgrade to the nav mesh there. But you have to pick a version that works for you and your project. But yeah, I personally try to upgrade as little as possible for my own projects. It's only if there's like a new feature that I really want to use that I'll go through the work of upgrading, because you're always going to have to do some adjustment when you upgrade versions. GM Liquid Media says, 5.6 nav mesh for me is working great. I put in spawning bots to follow the player, 3 new ones every 3 seconds. Looking at my profiling on the game, it's still running 100 FPS. I did that too. I ran a test back when 5.6 was in beta with a nav mesh driven game with a good number of agents, and I was rebuilding the nav mesh, I think every frame because I had little destructible levels. Very, very simple little game, but it was running really fast. So I was kind of excited about that. And I am going to do something on the new NavMesh stuff soon. Jorma asks, is there a chance we will see a stream about materials and lighting? I am planning a Your First Shader stream, which is in a month or so. Maybe a little more, a couple of weeks. I don't have a lighting session plan, but I need to do one to cover the progressive light mapper, so that will be coming soon. Hydrogen asks, is it essential to use the mobile shaders when targeting mobile platform, or can we get away with the standard if it's only 1 or 2 assets per scene? I would say you got to just profile on your lowest spec device, right? Depends what your least performant hardware that you're going to support is, right? And just test. Because there's no guarantee. You just have to see what your scene looks like and performs like on your target hardware, right? Mobile shaders are much less performance hungry than the standard shader, for example. I mean, I see a lot of people doing VR stuff using like all mobile shaders, right? Because that'll get your draw calls down and get your performance up, your frame rate up. So mobile shaders are not just for mobile. They are more performant, but you got to just profile on device. So no, you don't have to. If you're getting your performance with the standard shader, just use it, right? And you're happy with it, just use it. But you got to just make sure you're getting your frame rate that you want. Solar Falcon says, no, don't use standard for mobile. It's really bad for performance. Yeah, that's my guess too. But again, right? Like if there's just like one thing in your scene, maybe you get away with it. Maybe it matters to you. But my guess would be mobile shaders would be a good choice. Earvamp points out that certain shader definitions won't be read on mobile shader APIs. That's interesting. Yeah. I have not done a lot of mobile stuff, I will admit, so I'm not an expert in that area. Profile 84 asks, will you think about making a tutorial about some basic RTS game mechanics? You know, I would really like to do that, actually, and watch this space. What it's really about is what part of it to teach, how simple to make it, but I could definitely think of something with like placing buildings, selecting and moving units, and maybe combat, like, you know, melee combat or something. I would like to do that. It's just a question of when. Solar Falcon suggests an advanced space shooter tutorial with PlayMaker, with a boss or something. That's fun. Doing a boss fight actually would be a fun training for some game. It's a little different from doing regular enemies. You have to do like patterns and stuff. That would be interesting, actually.